So now I'm going to fit the chain boxes to the side of the case. Just to give you a bit of a catch up, that's a 3 litre SC motor, but it's been upgraded to 3.45, or what most people call a 3.5 litre engine, by way of crankshaft and bigger bores and bigger pistons. So the camshaft towers are on, heads are on, so cams are in, and I'm going to give everything a little bit of a clean with some lint-free cloths. Sort of cut them all to size. I've got my camshaft already mounted. I think that'll be okay. I've already cleaned this part of the case, and I've got my chain box here, but I've already cleaned everything up. So I'm going to get my gasket here. Now, I know that the book says to install these completely dry, like don't put any sealant on them. I'm going to ignore the book and I'm going to put some sealant on it. I like this stuff. Greaseproof paper is great for the bench. Gives you a nice clean surface that you can throw away. And you can see I've used a lot of sealant out of this one. There's not much left. Let's see if we can get anything out of it. You really don't need much. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to smear it across with my finger. So I know there are guys that are building these online and they say do not use any sealant here, but this is one of those areas where I disagree with. I've done it both ways, and I haven't had any issues with leaks before, but I just feel a little bit better if I do have some 574 here. This gasket doesn't move. It's not like an O-ring that needs to have movement. So as we know, 574 is an anaerobic sealant, so that's going to dry in the absence of oxygen. So once I put this down, I need to think about getting the box on pretty quickly. On there. So I'm going to do the same on the chain box itself. Again, doesn't need to be much. That should be enough. Like, it's not a huge amount. Oops, don't need it in there. Now we're going to thread him over there, and I'm pretty sure it'll go over, even though the nose of the cam is sticking out, it should still go over. Oh, now that's got to go over that stud. Yep. Hang that over the nose of the cam for the time being. Tap it over the dowel. So you don't want to really use the nuts to sort of bring the chain cover down. You want to make sure that the box is actually seated before you put the nuts and the washers on. Okay, so I've put my washers on, and we'll put our nuts on. Being very careful not to drop them inside the engine at this point, because that would be horrible. Of course, I've never done that before. I'm using the same locking nuts. See, they're sort of slightly ovaled. I think you can see that. Is it boring watching videos like this? Probably. If it is, what are you doing here? Right, so the torque spec is 25 Newton meters, but let's just go to 10 first. And I'm just doing this so that I can, I should switch to this. This is a much better tool. If you keep it at a right angle, then you're still applying the same amount of torque. Step it up. Let's go to 20. Move to 25 Newton meters. Okay, so that part of things is done. I guess we should do the other side, shouldn't we? So we're just doing the other side now. I've already put the gasket on and fixed that little stud. Wouldn't mind a third hand here. So that's got to go over those pins. There's one, there's two. And well, that wasn't too hard at all, was it? It's just sitting on that dowel, so we sort of tap him down again. Okay, time to put some washers on. Aluminium on the outsides. Steel wavy washers on the inside. Again, careful attention to not do anything silly here. Nah, that's the side I hate. Okay, so it's time to install the camshaft thrust plates. So these get installed with Molykote. So do not use sealant here. We use basically an O-ring grease. You want this O-ring needs to be able to move on the outside of it anyway. So the way I'm doing this, so just pull over the side so it doesn't roll or it doesn't twist. Slide it down, and that'll push some of the Molykote into the bottom edge, which is good. So this is a bit of a, I wouldn't say complex procedure, but now, because when this gets pushed in, this is the surface of the O-ring that's going to make contact. So now I want to put Molykote on the outside of it. So again, it will help it to install, and it will also allow it to move, reducing the chance of leaks. I've been doing it this way for a few years now, and so far everything's working well. No leaks yet. Famous last words, right? Right, so now I want to put my gasket on, but I've got a bit of Molykote on the faceplate here, which I don't want. So now I've got to go and clean that off, and then we'll use a clean lint-free towel. We'll just put some brake cleaner on that, and we'll give that a wipe. Get our little gaskets and put a tiny little smear of 574 on. But I also want it on the other side of the gasket. A couple of the bolts ready to go. The little spring washers on them. That'll hold the gasket in place. Get the third one. Oh, so just putting those in by hand. wind these in evenly. The O-ring's starting to push in at the top. Hopefully you can see that the thrust plate is quite nicely centered in the chain box housing, because the thrust plate bolts into the camshaft tower and technically floats inside this chain housing. So because we've got, you know, different height cylinders and different gaskets and blah blah blah, to see that nicely centered is quite rewarding. So now we need to talk to spec. Just doing the right hand side now. And again, you can see that the thrust plate is nicely centered, as is the camshaft. Very good. Okay, so now it's time to think about putting on some sprockets and checking our alignment. Now this particular engine came to me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shims. Now normally there's 4 on the left and 3 on the right. I think this had 4 on either side, so I guess we'll start with the normal 4 and 3 and see what happens. So first we've got to put in our thrust washers, and as you can see there's a bevel on the inside here that faces towards the camshaft. Right, so let's put a little bit of oil on everything just to make them nice and slippery. The thrust side, which is the bevel side, goes towards the camshaft. It's in. I'm just going to lube these up, make sure they're all nicely covered. Those 4 on the left. You probably didn't see me because I've got the camera angled down looking at the bench. So I'm going to just do 3 on this side. Alright, so 3 in there. I'm not worrying about putting the Woodruff key in just yet, because these aren't being locked in, they're just going to sit there for now. That sprocket goes on facing that way. Because I've gone for later model camshafts, they require the updated washers and the big long bolts. So the flat surface faces out. So what we're doing here is we're just going to do a bit of a mock assembly of our sprockets, because we just want to be able to see how they're aligned, because we don't want the chains to be running on an angle, so to speak, otherwise it can cause a lot of excess wear. Well, I set up my alignment measuring jig and I've zeroed everything out, and interestingly this is the side where I've only put 3 shims in, and I think it needs 4. It actually had 4 in it, but we're aiming for as close to 0 as possible, and I've got 0.6. So yeah, I am, well, each shim is worth 0.5 of a millimetre, so that would have got me well within spec. So it looks like I need to add that other shim in. So let's do that. Some of the shims came with it. 4th one's in there. Put that back in. Put that in. Put the sprocket on. Tighten it all down. Okay. There we go. within 0.1 of a mil. That's pretty good. Let's just rotate the cam to a different spot. There we go. 0.07 of a millimetre within spec. You've got to be within, say, 0.25 of a mil. So it looks like it is 4 on the left and 4 on the right. I'll just switch the gauge over to the left-hand side. So on this side here, we're aiming for somewhere around 54.8 millimetres. .95, so within 0.15 of millimetres. That's well within spec. So I'm going to go ahead now and install the Woodruff keys and install my idler arms and whatnot, and we'll get the rest of this buttoned up.